What's up, folks? Sean, the Average Angler. We are here in the garage shop, man cave, whatever you want to call it. Just got back from the store. It is playoff Sunday. We're through one day. The Niners and the Ravens advanced. I think the two number one seeds. Ravens wasn't close, and the Niners was very close. They really didn't play very well. Anyway, just had to go to the store because I was out of beer. And so this is, every once in a while I'll buy one special one. Voodoo Ranger Tropical Force. It is a Belgian ale, 9.5%. I've had two sips. Actually, I had one when I started, but for some reason the video stopped. So I just decided to restart the video. Anyway, here, I'll take one for you, and then we're going to get on with what we're going to talk about today. All right. Yeah, pretty good. All right, so it is still winter, still January, but we are moving along, folks, and it is moving quick. It seems like just yesterday it was New Year's, then I had a tournament, and then I was frozen for 2 weeks, and then, well, now we're kind of where we are. I uncovered the boat for the first time today. I have a new product I will be putting in there pretty soon, Duradeck marine products. I'm going to redo the floor, the cockpit floor. I've had that carpet replaced twice. My boat's, it's a 16, so it is February. I picked it up in February of 16. So it'll be 8 years old next month. And unfortunately, I've had to replace the cockpit carpet twice, mostly because it just starts peeling up. So anyway, Duradeck is a, I don't want to speak out of term, like an EVA foam type. Supposed to be very durable. The owner's really great to deal with. So anyway, there will be a video about that when we get to that. So today we're going to talk about, let me get this rod out here. Yeah, this is a big stick, folks. Come on, focus. I don't know. If it's not going to focus, that is an 806 Powell punch rod flipping stick. I have my fair share of 806 Powells, right? I even have, at one time they came out with a, Jared Lintner was part of the team. I believe it was Jared Lintner. They came out with a Tackle Warehouse exclusive. It's pretty cool. It's got a boxing glove kind of on the rod, you know, punch rod. But it's also a flipping stick, whatever else you might. Anyway, I have a ton of them. I used to fish the Delta a lot back when it was good. With what they've been doing to the Delta the last 10 years, I've kind of faded away from it. Anyway, yeah, it's the closest body of water to my house. I probably should go fish it a little more than I do. But today's topic is about that little doobob right there. Right? The peg it. To peg or not to peg. And I'm going to tell you this. Okay? And this one's kind of worn out now. It's been on there a long time. It's dry. I bet you I haven't taken this rod out of the rack for 3-4 years. It's kind of a shame that that I'm abusing the usefulness of this rod by not doing that kind of fishing. But that's what happens. Anyway, So we're talking about the peg it, to peg or not to peg. Now, I'm going to say that, there we go. When I'm punching, and actually when I'm pegging, you'll see there's a peg on each side of that weight. Because sometimes you want to leave a gap. I don't know, what is that, 1.5 inches, 2 inch? Sometimes that'll make a big difference, right? That hits bottom. My little Strike King rodent here can kind of meander to the, told you that sucker was dry. That weight just went. Anyway, it gives that last 2 inches where it pulls that rodent down to the bottom, and then the last couple inches just gets a chance to settle on its own. All right, so that's why the 2 pegs and wow, that other peg just broke off, so it has been a while. I have not punched in a while, folks. I grabbed this rod for demonstration purposes. Kind of sucked it failed me that quick, but it is what it is. We have the important part here, right? That's a little secret, folks, and you don't need to go that far. You can do 1 inch, right? It pulls it through the cover really well, but then when it gets to the bottom, it'll give that bait a little chance to kind of settle naturally. So we're going to talk about when to peg, when not to peg. And for me, it's pretty simple. And I'm going to be the first to admit it wasn't always this way, okay? When I first started fishing and was flipping and pitching a lot, I didn't peg at all. Punching wasn't a thing back then. Wasn't something I knew about. There was probably a few guys that did, but it wasn't out yet. So flipping, pitching, toolies, bulkheads, buggy whips, cattails, whatever you guys call them where you're at. It's a straight stalk comes up. They typically grow in clumps. Here in California, our toolies are typically growing in a sand type bottom. Great for spawning. It's great for cover. Great for bait fish because usually you have the moss growing on the toolies at the water's edge. So it just goes on and on. Okay, it's a great fish holding spot. So when I originally started fishing, I never pegged. They didn't even have peggets back then, honestly. If we wanted to peg a weight, the in-crowd top secret was a toothpick. You shoved it up in your weight and you broke it off. And yes, there was some problems with that. But it worked, and it worked well at the time. So why do we want to peg a bait or not? For me, it's pretty simple. Okay, it comes down to target-rich environment. And it really doesn't matter what it is. It could be a dock piling, it could be toolies, cattails, bulrushes, punching, a tree, a laydown, any target-rich environment where you want to pitch that bait out, cast that bait, skip that bait, whatever it is, doesn't matter. And you want it to fall where you land it. My quick, easy answer is peg it. It offers you a lot more control, a lot more precision. Nowadays, I rarely ever fish a free sliding weight where it's not pegged. But there is a time. Okay? There is a time. And the reason I say rarely is because it just is not very often. But it does happen. I mean, think about a Carolina rig. It's sort of pegged, right? It's pegged on one end. So when do I not do it? It's basically when I'm fishing open water. Okay? I'm fishing open water. I'm not throwing to a piling. I'm not throwing to a target per se. Then I want that weight to fall, and hey, I may gain 2 foot of that brush hog, rage bug, Senko, whatever I might be pegging behind it, gets to free float down to the bottom in a very natural presentation. So I'm going to say that this is most often used when the fish are close to bottom, not necessarily on bottom. Okay, if you're fishing a tournament that is drop shot heavy, I'm going to throw an unpegged Texas rig. So number one, I can be different. Number two, I can get to the bottom faster because I could throw a 1/2 ounce weight. I could throw a 3/4 ounce weight. It doesn't matter. If my bait is coming away from that peg, or no peg, if you will. If my bait's pulling away from that weight, it has, I don't know, 1 to 2 foot, maybe 3. It depends on how fast your weight's going down and how much free spool you're giving. That bait has time to flutter down much more naturally. Kind of like, it's kind of like fishing a split shot, but much faster and with a heavier weight. At Shasta, I fished a 1/2 ounce tungsten. I just pulled it out of the boat earlier. 1/2 ounce tungsten weight with a tungsten bead, and I wasn't pegging it. And I was fishing a big zoom worm. Okay. When it's on, it's on. When it's not, it's not. It's kind of one of those things. It wasn't necessarily on. I got a couple bites on it. They weren't eating it. A few years ago, my other tournament partner, Mike, and I, we walloped them. Wasn't the right weather conditions and everything this year. Had Saturday stayed nice, I think it possibly could have been. Anyway, experiment with things, folks. Think about what it is you're doing, what you're targeting, and anytime you're around cover, it's best to keep that weight close to your bait so that it doesn't get hung up or caught on stuff and it pulls it through. When you're not in those situations, that's the time to fish a, let's call it a free floating Texas rig where there's no peg it. Maybe we peg it at the bottom so we never get within a foot. Maybe we 2 inches, maybe 1 inch, who knows? If you're punching, I advise to never go more than 2 inches. And that's if the bite's towards the bottom. If the bite's towards the top, you want to keep it tight, throw it in, let it hit bottom, bring it up, and then you start shaking. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. We're really trying to grow the channel here, and I think when we get to 1,000, we're going to have a big celebration. Y'all come over, we'll go get some Voodoo Rangers. No, really. We're going to do a giveaway. I've asked for giveaway suggestions. So far, I've gotten nothing. So maybe we don't do a giveaway. Maybe nobody wants nothing. Maybe nobody needs nothing. Quite sure that's wrong, but anyway, it's thanks for watching, Sean the Average Angler, and we are pegging.